Hi. Welcome to the Afrocentric Woman. Gosh, there's been so many things that I wanted to talk to you ladies about, and I haven't literally known where to start. But I want to start here. I want to start with developing a natural attraction to a variety of men. This is a topic that I deal with a lot in real person in my everyday life, talking with Black women who are only attracted to Black men. Now, let me just say this just to back up. I don't want to condemn you for that. I don't want to condemn you for being attracted to Black men physically, because that's actually a natural response for someone who is self loving and for someone who's just like wanting to biologically recreate themselves. I'm not going to condemn you for that on my channel. I know there are certain people who will bash you for being attracted physically to Black men. Um, but I just want to give a disclaimer that you will not be bashed here on my channel for being physically attracted to Black men. Okay. Now, with that said, let's move forward. I've talked to you on this channel about, actually, let me get off of my internet. Let me get on the Wi. I hope this is better. I think the Wi-Fi is a bit unstable. Okay, so it's very natural. Let's just get that out of the way. It's very natural to be attracted to someone who looks like you. And me asking you to be attracted to someone who doesn't look like you is a bit unnatural. And I just want to acknowledge that. And, you know, just that's just the elephant in the room. Um, but yeah, I would encourage you to. If you will listen to some earlier videos that I've done, I've always encouraged you on this channel not to be caught up in looks, because as women, we literally don't have the ability to base our dating, mating, and marriage uh, prospects on looks alone. Like, oh, he's fine, he's tall, he's dark, he's handsome, blah, blah, blah. You know, basing your dating, mating, and marriage decisions on looks alone will end you up in the poorhouse. You'll be alone. You could possibly be alone. You could possibly be shouldering all the burden of raising a family on your own when this attractive 6'5", ripped, dark-skinned Black man abandons you. You know, like, okay, you've got this really beautiful child, but like, what else do you have? So I think that Black women are really placed in a very difficult and challenging situation where we have to abandon our own natural instincts for physical genetic, uh, desire, and we are forced to carry on to other things, right? To think about other things other than just the physical. And what I can tell you as someone who naturally, I will, and it's been a progression, but I'll tell you this naturally from inception, from the moment I knew, I like men, I've always been attracted to super, super dark skinned men with white teeth and big eyes. So that's my natural attraction. Um, but I can tell you now, through self work and through being honest with reality, being very self serving to myself, and being serving to my own mission, I am now honestly and truly attracted to the man who can provide the best lifestyle for me. Okay? So, if you will listen to my earlier videos, I've always encouraged Black women to consider the man who is unsuspecting. Consider the man who may be shorter than you, maybe your same height, maybe just be 2 inches taller than you. So this is nothing new. This is not a new epiphany. This is like, yes, I am definitely encouraging you to explore your racial options more than I have previously, maybe let's say a year ago. But ultimately, since I've started this channel over a year ago, I have always encouraged you to consider the man that you have been overlooking that can provide you the best resources, the best lifestyle. Consider the man who's shorter than you. Consider the man who may be balding. Consider the man who may be older. Consider the man with a gut. Consider the man who is a little bit socially awkward. Consider the man who's shy. Consider the man who's a nerd. Consider the man who's quiet. This is nothing new to the Afrocentric woman. Ladies, I've been telling you. And now I'm just adding to my repertoire to consider the man who's not black. Consider all of your options when it comes to creating the best lifestyle for yourself. Now, I want to back up because, you know, it's unnatural to, okay, let me say what's natural. It's natural to want to recreate yourself. Okay. The current conversation right now in this space is that Black women who want Black children are vain and they're so shallow and they're so vain and all they want to do is recreate themselves because they're sucked up into vanity. I agree. I disagree with that. I think there's a very natural and spiritual and biological forces that are compelling Black women to want to recreate themselves. They love their features. They love their broad nose, their thick lips, their brown skin and kinky hair. They've fought so hard to embrace and love these features about themselves that they literally want to recreate themselves in children. And so what better way to recreate your all of these features that you've grown to love and desire than with a Black man? I don't think that's vain. Maybe there's some aspect of vanity in there, but I think there's maybe just a smidgen of vanity, just a little dab of vanity. But I really think the driving forces for Black women to want to recreate themselves is a spiritual, it is a biological force that is very natural and inherent within the human species to want to recreate themselves. However, okay, however, Black women find themselves in a very precarious situation whereby the vehicle to reproduce yourself the most efficiently is inept, and the vehicle which to reproduce yourself is violent and dangerous, and the vehicle which to reproduce yourself most efficiently is a danger to society. So Black women find themselves in this position whereby we have to go against our biological desires to reproduce ourselves, which is really coming from a place of self love and wanting to see ourselves in children and having to choose the better option for ourselves in the physical realm. And when I say the physical realm, I mean housing, I mean healthcare, I mean, legacy. I mean, resources and, um, you know, creating a space for your children to be able to come up into a family that it has resources to provide the bare necessities of life. Um, to increase your odds of actually having a partner that will stick with you, through the difficult times of parenting and provide a masculine influence for your child, whether you have a girl or a boy. And that forces Black women to abandon this fantasy, this desire, this dream, this hope, this prayer of Black love because it's not practical in 2021 given what we have just based on what's available. it's silly, you know, it's non-congruent, okay? It's non-congruent with what's available in the dating pool and what you desire. If you want stable household, if you want a partner that's going to be with you, through pregnancy, birth, through the difficult times, through toddler, and be with you to co-parent and to actually have masculine instincts to provide for you, to protect you, and to create a home for you to thrive in. You just have to be practical. And so it's really difficult. And I just want to empathize with Black women about how difficult it is to grapple with the very precarious situation that we face, to have this natural biological desire versus the reality of life. Now, as I have discussed in earlier videos about how to consider men who are, quote, not your type, is to go out and get treated well. Okay. Now, before I dive into being treated well, let me just speak on the obsession with looks and vanity and the looks of men and quote unquote physical preferences and what you desire in the physicality of a man. Black women tend to be the most vocal about what they desire in a man physically. And I think part of that is through grooming. Part of that is through the way we're reared, because oftentimes Black men don't have anything to offer but their looks and their dick. So, or their eggplant. So they will have a heavy emphasis on that. Look at me, I'm 6'2". Look at me, I have this. Look at me, I have a BBC. And so they market themselves as these bucks, right? These bucks who are tall and dark and handsome and have these BBCs. Most Black men don't offer, and they don't market themselves as, look at me, I have 10 acres of land. Look at me, I have mineral rights. Look at me, I have a big 401k. Look at me, I have a huge IRA. Look at me, I will provide you with life insurance. Look at me. I will buy you a car. Look at me. I will have a trust fund for the future children that we will have. Black men don't have these things, so Black men naturally fall to the things that they have, which is height, looks, color, BBC. Even if they don't have them, even if they're 5'2", they will say, I'm 5'6". If they're 5'6", they'll say, I'm 5'10". If they're 5'10", they'll say, I'm 6'1". They lie and they exaggerate these physical attributes because they know they don't have any resources to actually support a family, right? So there's this culture within the Black community of focusing on the man's looks. And this is heavily based on the fact that Black men don't have any physical or resourceful contributions to offer to a woman in her future children or the children that she does have. So they become a bit of prima donnas. They become pretty men and kept men and prissy men and men who spend a lot of time focusing on their looks and their hair, and they're very preoccupied with your looks and your hair, if you have a weave or you don't, or whatever the case may be. And this is all based on the fact that they don't have anything that other men have to compete in the world, right? And so Black women are reared from girls. Let's back up to girls and from infancy and into coming in age and adolescence and whatnot. These girls are reared into a culture of admiring men the way the way it, like the way that Black women admire Black men and their physical attributes is very akin to the way regular men outside of the Black community admire the physical attributes of the women of non-Black communities. Okay. So I say all that to say it's very masculine. It's a very masculine endeavor for Black women to admire and prioritize the physical attributes of Black men over their own needs and desires as feminine women. And that is the overall, overarching uh, epidemic and current state of the Black community. It takes time, diligence, and perseverance to unplug and get out of Black male worship and get out of that masculine energy. And as a woman who wants to experience a luxurious life, a laid back lifestyle, a lifestyle whereby she will be able to provide for her children and, like the things that they need, whether it be going to be involved with the PTA, being involved with Little League, being involved with pageants, being involved with extracurricular activities. All of that all of that is afforded to a feminine woman who has a man who can provide the space, time, and opportunity to that woman who is going to be able to provide those provisions to her children. That is a luxury, and that is something that only feminine women are able to accomplish. Okay? So, um, step number one, to getting out of being obsessed with looks, because from me talking to a variety of Black women all across the country, this is a huge barrier. It's a huge barrier for them even to begin to explore their options. You really have to step number one, you have to start loving yourself. You have to. You have to start loving yourself and valuing yourself, because there's no reason to do any of this if you don't. The reason for seeking a comfortable lifestyle for you, the woman, is because you value yourself and you see yourself as someone of immense value, immense, innumerable, unexplicable value. That is the premise of seeking a higher and comfortable lifestyle for yourself. So you have to believe that, number one. Once you believe that, you are immensely valuable, then you have to put yourself to a situation. What's more important to me as this valuable woman? Do I want to put myself in a situation? I'm at a fork in the road. Which way do I go? Do I go down the road of comfort, luxury, and comfort? Do I go down the road of legacy? Do I go down the road of adornment and adoration? Do I go down the road of reverence and care? And do I go down the road of security? Do I go down the road of longevity, stability, and investment? Or do I go down this road of struggle, strife, pain, neglect, abandonment, abuse, violence, pain? You know, every woman gets to that point. And then you have to ask yourself, what's more important to me? Well, if I go down this road, I'll be able to get someone who's 6'2". They'll be able to give me a couple of orgasms. They'll be able to, realize my fantasies of Black love, and I'll be able to at least temporarily, feel good for myself. Is it worth me going down this road? I may be a single mother. I may not be able to have any support in building wealth for my future children, and I won't be able to take off of work when I want to. I won't be able to go part time as needed. I won't be able to have health insurance. I'll be on Medicaid and other government assistance. I'll be living in squalor or pain or strife. But at the end of the day, I do have my Black love situation realized. I really think it's as analytical as writing out a chart. And each woman is going to have to decide for herself what she really, really desires, because she's going to have to weigh on a scale how important is the optics and the fantasy and the illusion of Black love versus having a good and comfortable life. She's going to have to decide that for herself. That's a personal decision that no one can make for any Black woman. She will have to decide for herself. But I think it's very important to be very sober and to be very honest and to be very realistic about exactly what's on the line, because that's how you get honest about where these desires are coming from. And you get to decide what's coming from you and what's not coming from you, and what are you able to live with and what are you able to forego. Like, yeah, the BBC is good, but not at the risk of my health. I want the BBC, but I would for I don't I want the BBC, but I don't want HIV either. So if I can avoid HIV, I'll just pass on the BBC. I'm not saying all BBC has HIV, but I'm just saying you just have to be very honest about what it is that you're getting. Oh, 30-second orgasm. This orgasm is worth $30,000 worth of life insurance. Or is it? Each Black woman has to quantify the value of the orgasms that you get. You need to put a dollar amount on it. You need to put an investment amount on it. Don't be in the dark about what you're getting. Don't be in the dark about what you're getting. And don't be in the dark about what you're giving. You know, how many women invest 10, 15, 20 years into these relationships, hoping that they change, hoping that they get better. Put a dollar amount on each month that you invest into these dead end relationships, right? So that you can quantify exactly where you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it. What is the point of this? Because if you're getting some sense of satisfaction from being related to someone or partnered with them or associated with them, and that's all you need, you're going to have to put a dollar amount to the satisfaction level. How much is it worth to you to have the title of wife, of girlfriend, of baby's mother, or whatever the case may be? Put a dollar amount on it. What are you willing to sacrifice to get that? You have to know what it's worth to you as a woman and an individual. You have to be able to quantify, how much is this worth to me? What am I willing to sacrifice for this? I can't go out with my friends. I can't go on vacation. I can't go on a cruise. I don't have enough money for a passport. I can't do this. I have to do all these things for myself. You have to quantify that. And then you have to juxtapose that to the illusion or the fantasy of the Black love. And you have to really balance it out and see if it's worth it for you. Because once you kind of have a concrete analysis and assessment of the value that you're getting from the association with this Black love, then you can think to yourself, what else is out there for me? Yes, it's going to be lacking melanin. Yes, it's going to be this. Yes, they're not going to know some of the old school Motown tracks that I know. Yes, there are going to be cultural barriers to relating with this person. There may be even language barriers to relating to this person. But what are you getting? You know what I mean? You have to quantify what you would be getting from it. And then comparing the two so that you can decide soberly what is the best option for you. Because again, going back to step number one, when you love yourself and you're self serving and you feel worthy, then you're going to let that be your guidepost. That is going to be your beacon of light to shine you as to where is the best place to go, right? The best way to become naturally attracted to the man that treats you the best is to go out with a man who treats you well and keep doing it. And as I've told you over a year ago, and I'll tell you again today, you will start to value the man who treats you well. The man who treats you well will start to become very appealing to you. The man who's respectful, who's generous, who's kind, the man who's chivalrous and a problem solver and who is present with you, who is stable, who is calm, who is in service of you as a woman, who feels grateful to be with you, the man who wants to protect you, the man who wants to provide for you, the man who wants to improve your livelihood and your well being. Those are the men who you want to gravitate towards. And those are the men who you will naturally gravitate towards. So even the woman who's obsessed with the man who's 6'3", who's tall, dark, and handsome, with a beautiful smile and the abs and the BBC, who's ripped. But that same man, you don't know if he likes you or not. You don't even know if he's going to ask you out. Um, all he wants to do is Netflix and chill. He ain't got nothing. He got a low end, low wage job, or he unemployed. He living in his mama's couch. The only thing that's going for him is the BBC and the abs and his height. Maybe that works for you when you're like between the ages of 18 and 23. But at some point in time, you have to start prioritizing the life for yourself. You don't want to be 38, 39, 42, 43, still looking for those attributes with nothing to show for it, nothing to show for your feminine investment besides a man who is black with a penis. And that's it. Now, what I will admit, because I've talked to, like I said, a variety of women, there are some women on this planet that do not care about provisions. They don't care if they're cared for. They don't care about anything besides a title and to have somebody by their side to dress in matching outfits and take pictures with from time to time and post those pictures on the internet. There are women like that out there. And they don't complain about taking care of their man. Okay, they feel fully actualized in the masculine role. But honestly, you have to decide: is that role for you? Is that what you want for yourself? So therefore, the step to becoming a naturally attracted to a man who's going to provide the best lifestyle for you is to get out there and do it. That's the only way. And for a while, it will feel weird, but I promise you, I, I'll guarantee you, do it for about 3 months. And if you're dissatisfied, send me a message. But I can guarantee you wholeheartedly and fully that dating men who treat you well, you will naturally become attracted to the treatment that you receive, and that will become first and foremost over the physical attraction that the male may or may not have. Okay, and that comes in a variety of sources, and therefore, because the most reason why black women are attracted to black men is just physical for a while. It's just physical. That's it. When they're young, it's just physical. And I find when I talk to older black women, it's because they feel like they're not qualified for non-black men. They're like, oh, I'm in my 40s. What non-Black man is going to want me? And so that they feel trapped to one particular group of men. But I'll tell them the same way I tell you. Open up your options, because what you think uh, non-Black men want, it's not that. And the only way for you to find out for yourself is to actually open up yourself to that so that you can start experiencing it and then see. Okay? That's the only way. That is the way. You have to open up yourself, put yourself out there, and actually fight against your natural instinct, honoring that it's natural, but also reckoning with the fact that Black women have been put into an unnatural state. And we didn't choose this for ourselves, but even though we didn't choose this position that we're in, we find ourselves in it, and we have to act accordingly to save our own selves. To preserve our own selves, we have to act in in we have to act sort of like, in essence, to preserve our own selves. So there's going to be certain biological things you have to override to to ensure physical comfort now, because the physical comfort now is the most important and paramount. It's paramount to our survival, because we can't continue to be in a state of demise and downtroddenness and to be the workhorse of the world. Like, it's not sustainable. So here we are today at this fork in the road, and each Black woman has to decide which way she'll go. Uh, Josie says, I hope other Black women can move past this. Sometimes it feels like they are overcompensating to appeal to Black men. I think being raised in a mixed community deterred me from this preference. Fascinating, Josie. If he is attractive to me, I'm just drawn to him. But with me, I've been lucky because I let my instincts and his actions guide me. I've been lucky on the men I've chosen. That is a blessing, Miss Beyond Meek. I'm so happy and proud of you. That's a blessing. I've been attracted to East Indian men. I find shy men unattractive and difficult to engage. I often feel as if shy men prefer to be pursued than the pursuer. Um, yeah, it just depends. I think ultimately each woman, uses her intuition to kind of guess. Because I mean, I've met some shy men who are just a bit awkward, but are very generous, you know. They're very generous. So it just depends. It just depends on each one. So each woman kind of has to use her intuition to decide which way to go. If a guy, because sometimes super, super charismatic, talkative, likable guys are like huge narcissists and annoying. And they're competing with you for like shine, and they want to be prettier than you and better than you and stuff like that. So, not always, but like I said, I think that intuition and the intuitive nature of women will kind of help guide you as to which way to go. Yeah. But I mean, I've just decided there's just so many extremes on YouTube about um, Black women preserving themselves. And there's a lot of shaming tactics and ridiculing tactics and demeaning tactics to sort of um, discuss with Black women about their choices. And I find myself as more of a hand holder, and maybe that's just my own nature. You know, I want to meet Black women wherever they are and hold their hands through the process. And I just don't want to under represent or sort of like underrate the struggle that you may be going through to get to the other side. And just speaking for myself, just speaking for myself for a minute, I can say that, there was one point of time that interracial dating kind of repulsed me, because I was a black male worshiper, and I was like, didn't realize I was drinking their Kool-Aid, but I was. I didn't know I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I didn't really realize. It took me a while to really unravel all of that and to understand their vested interest in making me despise non-black men and be afraid of non-black men as a way to be tethered and anchored to uh, underachieving, underperforming males, and not to require these males to achieve anything. I didn't know. I didn't know, and so many black women adopt these understandings of the world based off of how they've been reared and groomed. And so it's a massive undertaking to undo these things. But I can tell you what I started with was seeking a life of comfort. Seeking a life of comfort and leisure and luxury, seeking a life of leisure and luxury will lead you away from black men. It will, usually. What about the good black men? Well, they exist. But a lot of my viewers are between the ages of 35 and 45. And so since a lot of my viewers are between the ages of 35 and 45, I'm of the essence. I think I'm opting for the most time sensitive solution to your problem, which is companionship. And so given the most time sensitive solution to your desire for companionship and a man to provide and protect, I would lead you towards expanding your options. Okay. Um, because I was thinking earlier today, because there's always those black women who are like, come out of the woodworks, uh, you know, especially the ones who are like with a black man or are just holding on to the idea of it. They will come out and be like, but there are good black men out there. Okay, that's fine. But the percentage is so low. Like, if I had a friend who was like really good at basketball and that's all they wanted to do, right? They wanted to go to the NBA. That's all they want to do. There's just nothing else that they're willing to consider. And you're like, well, why don't you go ahead and go to college and get a degree? That way, you have options. Oh, no, no, no. I don't need to go to college. I'm going to be a high school drafter. Wow, you're going to be trying to draft to the high school? Because now, what percentage of all basketball players from D1 and D2 schools make it to the NBA? And from all those schools, what what percentage of the draft is drafted right out of high school? So we're going from low to lower. But when I tell you, why don't you try to go to school and get an education so that way you have options, and then that person sees you as being negative, you don't see the vision, da 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 da, and you're like, no, I see the vision, I see what you're trying to do, but I'm just saying, statistically speaking, the odds of you getting into the NBA is very low. So why don't you go ahead and get an education so you have an opportunity to do something else? If the NBA works out, you have this education to do whatever you want to with it. If the NBA doesn't work out, you still have this education to fall back on to do whatever you want to with it. It's not that I don't love you. I'm just saying I love you so much that I want the best for you. And I want you to have all the options available to you, that you're not putting all your eggs in the NBA basket. That's all I'm saying. I love you enough for that. And that's how it feels when it talks to Black women, when you're trying to encourage them to open up their options and not put all their eggs in one basket that's statistically against them. The higher you go in education and what do you call it? Education and like socioeconomic accomplishment, the less Black men you have to choose from. And the more money that you attain in socioeconomic stature, the more likely the men that look like you will not want you because they're psychologically damaged. So therefore, you would be marrying yourself to a life of hypogamy and marrying down like Jill Scott, like Mary J. Blige, like Faith Evans, and opening yourself up to financial exploitation like Fantasia, right? You be opening yourself up to that when you marry down. You marry down because most of the Byron Allens and the what's that guy who's married, who's in the gosh, isn't Clarence Thomas, and there's another guy that's like a multimillionaire. I can't remember his name. But those types of guys, they're married to frumpy white women. They don't want Black women. They don't want their counterpart. So it's you have to force yourself to grapple with the biological nature that you may be feeling and the reality of life as it is today in 2022. They don't want you, sis. They don't want you. They're psychologically damaged. They do not want to reproduce themselves. And you do want to reproduce yourself. They don't, they want to produce, they want to erase their lineage and genealogy, and you want to preserve yours. There's no reason to beat yourself up for wanting to preserve your genealogy and wanting to preserve and reproduce yourself because you love being Black. But we're dealing with a conquered group that don't value reproducing themselves. They don't value that. And you just have to accept that for what it is. You don't even have to understand their psychology because I feel like there's a lot of um, debate about why they're so self-hating. And there's all these theories and propositions as to why this group of men hate themselves so much. Let me tell you, you don't need to understand why they hate themselves and they don't want to reproduce themselves. What you do need to understand, and they hate their children and their offspring, but what you do need to understand is that they do. They do hate themselves for whatever reason, and they don't want to reproduce themselves for whatever reason. And when they do reproduce themselves, they want those children to suffer a life of turmoil. And you don't need to understand why, but you do need to understand that that is what the norm is. That is what the collective does. And so, uh, your desire to reproduce yourself isn't inherently bad. It's very natural and it's actually a good thing. And what I'm asking you to do, and what many other women are proposing for you to do, is to fight against the natural urge to reproduce yourself in lieu and in opting for a life of leisure and comfort. I don't know that that's a moral question. I think it just is what it is. And each woman's going to have to grapple with that understanding on her own, of which way you want to go. Ah, I think I am talking about Robert Smith. The black billionaire whose wife looks like she had yeah, I think that's the guy who gave the scholarships to Morehouse. His wife looks like a hot ass mess. He could have married Miss Black Tennessee or whoever. He could have married Miss Black America. He could have married the most beautiful black woman on the face of the planet, but he chose a frumpy white woman. Yeah, I'm talking about him. She looked like she had a ton of plastic surgery. Yeah, yeah, she did. I don't know. I mean, when it comes to white women, they don't really have standards. So who knows if she was an ex-stripper? And thank you, something grand, if you're referring to me. I appreciate you. Sometimes I find very chatty men to be attention starved and narc tendency. Balance and context is necessary. Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Josie. You really have to kind of get to the core of who this guy is and why he's behaving the way he is. You really do. Because I don't know. I don't know if his ex-wife. Oh, thank you, something Grant. You are super, super sweet. I appreciate you. I really do think I have like the best subscribers on YouTube. You all are very free thinking, and I have to attribute that to the fact that I have created a culture on the channel of um, very much so presenting my ideas as a way of life. And I understand that there are other ways of life. And I would like to appeal to the women who want to work less. And I would like to appeal to the women who would like a more luxurious lifestyle and who would prefer a provider man. Um, that's what I'm targeting. That's what I would like to appeal to, and helping those women get to the desire that they have and overcoming the obstacles that may be presenting themselves and encouraging that life. I was thinking about one of the luxury Black women groups that I'm in, and it's very peculiar to me for Black women to constantly post various things that they've accomplished, like, oh, look, hey, I got a Range Rover, I got this Louboutin bag, I got this Chanel bag, or I got this or that, and I did it all by myself. I did this. And I think about other mixed groups that I'm in, and I've never seen any other woman uh, brag about anything she's done for herself. Like, I've never seen a Russian woman say, oh, look at this Chanel bag, and I did it by myself. I've never seen that. A Russian woman say anything like that. I've never seen a Korean woman say, oh, look at my Hermes bag. I bought it all by myself. I got it out the mud. I work hard. I busted my ass for this Hermes bag. I've never, ever in my entire life, and I'm in group with Korean women, I've never seen a Korean woman say that. Never. This is something I find very particular about American Black women, that they pride themselves on being alone, being the sole provider of the luxury of their life. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's particular. It's very particular to Black women, American Black women. You don't see even Nigerian women saying, oh, I got this on my own. I did it by myself. Because most women, especially when they are pretty and they take care of themselves, um, they pride themselves in being provided for either by their dad, their grandfather, their uncles, but especially from their dads or from their husbands or boyfriends, like, oh, I got this from my dad, or my dad got me this. Or maybe they won't even mention, but it's just understood. My dad got this for me. Black women are in a peculiar position where most of us are dadless. We don't have fathers. And so, if we wish to procreate, we have to create an environment whereby which our children will have a father. And that is a game changer for us and the trajectory of our lives and the trajectory of our bloodline. But for the men in your life, your boyfriend, your friend, the guy you're sleeping with, the guy you're hanging out with, the guy you're dating, what do you have to show? Are you just doing it all by yourself and out of the mud? I just think it's unhealthy. And I feel like there are statistics to back up what I'm saying. Black women have the highest diabetes, blood pressure, obesity, and everything else. And we're the most independent. I don't think it's natural to be producing all these things like this. And so um, I realized today through some reflection that, part of my mission really is to encourage Black women to work less to get more. Because Black women do the most to get the least. Black women do the most to get the least. Black women do the most at this current state to get the least. And my mission and desire is that Black women do less and get more. Do less and get more. Tap into your creativity. Because in your inside of your creativity, how is housed the ability to create patents, right? Because there are certain things that Black women will create processes for. Black women are very inventive and creative. Black women are very resourceful and money making. But Black women will have to tap into their creativity, their ingenuity, their thought process, the essence of who they are, their likeness, and they're going to have to monetize it. Monetize it. Stop talking to people for free. Stop consulting with companies for free. Start putting a price on it. It's a consultation. You're a consultant. Stop reacting to people's, social media for free. Start charging for it. Start charging a price to repost their stuff. When you, as a Black woman, you lead the culture, you're the most spiritual woman on the planet Earth. You affect the language, the culture, the norms, the music, the style of the globe, Black woman. And it's time that you start benefiting from who you are. Has everything to do with transitioning from being a workhorse to being a creative. This has everything from transitioning from being in the masculine to being in your feminine nature as a Black woman. This has everything to do with defining who you are as a Black woman instead of being told what you deserve and told who you are. This has everything to do with coming to the negotiating boardroom table, knowing your statistics, knowing your influence, knowing your value, knowing all these numbers, knowing what you require for your participation in whatever the friggin' project is. It don't matter what the project is. It could be a church project, a community project, a government project, a medical project, a relationship project, it don't matter. Knowing what it is that you require for your engagement in said project. When people want your time, your attention, your affection, your endorsement of whatever it is that they want. It could be a man, it could be a corporation, it could be the church, it could be whatever. Whatever. Know your number, Black woman. Know what it is that you require. What does this person need to invest in you such that you have what it takes to give towards the project and have an overflow for you? Whether it be energy, money, investments, whatever. No man, church, corporation, or entity, school district, or the like should drain you to, co- uh, you know, to exhaustion, Black woman. No one should be able to have that power. This has everything to do with stepping out of being the codependent mule that complains about life and complains about being downtrodden and complains about being the victim of the victim. And this has everything to do with you stepping into who you are and looking in the mirror and knowing you're beautiful, you are coveted, you are unique, you are desirable, and you set the tone for global culture. Put a price on it. Put a price on it. You are not free. No one can give you any amount of money, resources, minerals, stocks, bonds, investments that will uh, compensate you for your essence. Because the essence that you have within you, Black woman, is innumerable. But put a price on it. Command a price. Especially for these little snotty nosed boys and men that want to run up and be all up in your essence. Put a price on it. You are not free. You will exchange resources for time and essence, but it will never be equivalent. They will always be getting more. No Gucci bag, Hermes, stock investments, hundreds of $1,000s of transfer into your pocket will ever compensate for the essence of who you are, yet and still put a price on it because you, Black woman, you are not free. Your time and attention is not free. Okay? You're not free. Per se fine dining French restaurant says, I don't understand why Black women are still begging a bunch of conquered bucks to be with them. This is beyond my understanding. Um, I think that they are begging them because that they're reared to be that way. And that's why. Um, and they think that that's they think that love is Black love, and they don't love themselves. And so when you love yourself first, you think, okay, I love myself. And what is the natural extension of that? To find somebody who loves me almost as much as I love myself. And that's the way. But for some women who don't love themselves, they're not able to put like those, like two and two together. You know what I mean? To make that work. They're not even able to do it. And so I really think the best thing for us to do is continue to live our lives, to be honest about our journey to get to self-love and appreciating a partner that appreciates us, and not in a way that is a condemnation or a um what's the word? Well, we'll just stick with condemnation. Not a condemnation of the women who are not yet there, but more of a beacon of light. Be ye the beacon of light. Live your life in a way that is alluring to other Black women. Live your life in a way that is alluring and attractive. Women are wondering, wow, how did you get that? How did you get where you are? Wow, I wish I had that. Or wow, I see myself in you. What's the difference between me and you? Nothing. Why am I living in squalor and you're living in luxury? I need to make some changes for myself. So in that way, it's less convincing. It's less convincing of the other person. It's more a way of living for yourself and enjoying your life. And whoever wants to experience it, they will take initiative upon themselves to do it. They'll take initiative upon themselves to get up and get moving and get some things going for themselves, you know? So that is my response to that. What was the topic of today? The topic of today was for women to delve into exploring their options and learning to become attracted to provisions and protection. This is not, I just want to just say, this is not the natural progression of the average Black woman who is raised in the Black community. Most Black women in the Black community as girls are reared to covet things, very frivolous things, such as titles, um, positions, acknowledgement, being chosen, being picked, being associated with certain males, and not associated in a sense of being provided for, but just associated in the form of just being affiliated with. So very shallow things. And so understanding that most Black women have been reared into this very shallow and superficial desires of looks, of titles, just to break it down to the very bare bones. Because what do you think the first lady in the church wants? Do you think the first lady in the church cares about the Cadillac, or do you think she cares about being the first lady of the church? You know? What do you think the first lady what do you think the first lady of the Black church is willing to endure to maintain her title as first lady? Do you think she would be willing to overlook infidelity? Do you think she would be willing to overlook mismanagement of church funds? Do you think the first lady of the Black church would be willing to overlook her husband neglecting her own children? And she's really single while being married, doing everything for the children while the husband is doing God knows what in the name of quote unquote God. I know that's a bit of an extreme example, but I just want to illustrate what Black women are reared and raised to endure in the light of a title. Because the first lady of the church ain't got shit. She ain't got shit. She ain't even got no stable job. She ain't even got no stable investment. Because what? Everything is wrapped up in a mail. God forbid he die. What's going to happen to the church if he don't have no life insurance for her? because we live in a black male worshiping in society. Do you think if she started preaching the gospel that people are going to stay members? No, they're going to go to another church and worship another male. They're not going to stay with her. They're not loyal. They're loyal to men, not to women. You see what I'm saying? So the first lady is sacrificing security for the title of the role of first lady of the black church. And that is the story of many other black women. They would be willing to sacrifice their own comfort and security for the title of baby mama, wife, girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Main chick, bottom B, blah, blah, blah. What I'm encouraging of black women is to get out a piece of paper, okay, and write a chart and write it down and see and start writing down the benefits of the first lady of whatever you have going on, the girlfriend, the baby mama. Write down the title that you have in your mind and write down the tangible benefits of what it is. That's what I'm saying. In the area of housing, what does it provide you? In the area of financial security, what does it provide you? In the area of health and wellness, what does it provide you? In the area of legacy and future planning and endowment, what does it provide you? In the area of, um, you know, physical comfort right now, what does it provide you? And write that down so that you can start to be very clear and honest about what it is that you're getting so that you can get out of a fantasy. Because let me back it up. Most women, most women are heartbroken when relationships don't work out. Most women are heartbroken because of the the break of fantasy, the fantasy of what they wanted. Oh, it doesn't work out, and that's heartbreaking. So therefore, um, the fantasy is very challenging. So I'm encouraging you to break out of the fantasy and to get into the reality of what is. So actually looking into the bank account of this man and seeing what's in there, looking at the credit score of this man and seeing what's available, looking at the criminal history of this man and seeing what's available, looking at the um, people he's been involved with, his ex baby mama. Okay. Don't believe what he said about the baby mama. You yourself go talk to the baby mama and see her experience of him. The people who he's fallen out with over the years, bad business deals, um, bad relationships. He's fell out with this one, that one, and the third. Go find out what they have to say about him and write it down so that you can take that into stock and understand the pattern and the character of this person. Don't just take what he says about a situation. Ye yourself go investigate and find out what's going on with the situation. When I talked to one guy I was talking to, I talked to his baby mama. I talked to his baby mama to find out what was going on. And when she told me what she had to say, I may have been a black male worshiper, but I was taught by my godmother sisterhood over everything. I would not be willing to uh, disregard my sister for a peen, even if the peen is generous. Any man that you deal with should leave a woman intact. He should not destroy a woman and children and move on and then you get him. No, he should leave the woman intact. She should not be at a deficit as a result of dealing with him. And if she is, then know ye that that is your future. And to defy what she's saying is to be a male worshiper and to abandon sisterhood. And sisterhood is at the foundation of a healthy matriarchal society. And a matriarchal society is a healthy one, it's a prosperous one. Anyway, I've gotten off track. Let me get back on track. So, backing up, backing up to what I'm saying about um, weighing out what these guys have to offer. When you write it down and you make a pros and cons choice, or you make a SWOT analysis as to what these guys have to offer, then you'll be able to make a logical decision at what you're doing. And I want to admit that it might go against your natural biological state, but you need to put a quantifiable amount on the biological decision. That will give you the empowerment to override it. Like, he's fine, he's attractive, and I would love to have a mix of baby between he and I, but I'm not willing to go on Medicaid and live in projects and be in squalor in order to get it. That's where we need to get to, as a collective of Black women. That's where we need to get. So that's what I wanted to share today. Don't have any more at the time. I want to thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please like the stream. And if you know a Black woman who may be grappling with these decisions, with this information, please do share it with her. If you're in a social media forum where women struggle with these decisions, please do share it. Thank you for tuning in. Peace and love.